for watching another episode of Heart of the Dragon. Oscar, Rocky, and I are happy to see you today. And I wanted to just give you an update on how things are going with my health. So fortunately, I'm at a period right now where I have no flare-ups going on. And I am in remission of all co-infections and Lyme right now. And I'm happy to have that happen. And so I've mentioned in some of my previous videos that I was planning on starting a lectin-free diet based on the book, The Plant Paradox by Dr. Stephen R. Gundry. So I have been preparing all summer for this diet by canning some produce from my garden and just thinking about how I can reduce lectins in my diet. So as I've stated in previous videos, the Plant Paradox diet is a lectin-free diet. So I started on Monday. So Monday, I decided to go with a full ketogenic plan, so I significantly reduced my carbs, and I also reduced the amount of meat I'm eating. I focused mainly on wild-caught fish, and I've been eating vegetables like salad greens and other vegetables that are not high in lectins. And my body kind of went through some withdrawal during that period. I was detoxing, but I handled it pretty good. And so now I'm slowly reintroducing foods, and I'm going to try some new things coming up. So I'm pretty excited about that, to try some new foods that I haven't had in a long time, some for years. One new thing I did have this week that I haven't had in a while was I had a full boiled egg. Whites. Egg whites tend to be inflammatory for me. But I bought some organic, free-range, soy-free omega-3 eggs, which on this diet is the only kind of eggs that is safe to eat. And I had one, and it was really good, and I didn't seem to have any adverse reaction to it, so I was excited about that. Some of the benefits from the diet, I've lost 7 pounds this week, which I'm not overly concerned about that right now because I had gained some weight with not adhering to the diet that I'm typically on and eating more starchy vegetables and other things that are a little bit higher in carbs. So anyway, I immediately started losing some weight, and I'm not expecting that to be a huge issue since I am going to be slowly reintroducing foods again. I think I probably will lose maybe another, 5 to 10 pounds or so, but it'll all taper off and it'll all work itself out. So I'm not concerned about that. So that's what's going on with me. So I feel like things are going good. I also wanted to mention that I saw the dermatologist this week, and I've been struggling with some skin conditions on my left hand and my right foot for a long, long time. And the good news is with changing the lectin to a lectin-free diet is that my skin is clearing up. That was one thing that happened right away. So the areas on my left hand are almost gone now, and same with my foot. And so my doctor and his nurse were excited about that. And the reason why is when the lectins cause your body to go an autoimmune reaction. So with the areas on my skin, it was kind of an autoimmune thing. So I think with reducing the lectins, I'm going to see an overall benefit. So as much as it's a pain and I didn't want to give up some of my favorite foods, it will be well worth it to continue to work towards a healthy life and just heal my intestines and just feel better in general. So that's my goal, is to settle down my immune system so it's not an autoimmune mode. Now today I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of fermenting vegetables. I've been lacto fermenting vegetables for about 3 years now, since my last major Lyme flare-up. And I was at that time following the GAPS diet, the Gut and Psychology Syndrome diet, and this has a lot of recipes for lacto fermenting. Sally Fallon and Nourishing Traditions also has some recipes. Gundry actually recommends lacto fermenting, especially cabbage. So I thought with following the Plant Paradox diet that would be a good fit for me, and I can continue to do that. So recently I made several different recipes of lacto fermenting different vegetables. So I'm going to share some of them with you. My favorite recipe is for sauerkraut. So I'm going to show you how to do that. That's a little more complicated than the other recipes. I've also lacto fermented carrots, beets, and other vegetables. So I will show you a simple, easy way. It's just as easy as can be to do that. And the reason why you ferment vegetables is you build your own probiotics in your food, and it helps restore gut flora. So the main thing to know when doing this is just to be sure that you use good products like filtered water, preferably reverse osmosis, or Berkey water is the best. Using a good quality salt, because the salt is what causes the fermenting process, and I prefer Himalayan salt. So if you can get pink Himalayan salt at the store, and then you need some jars, like pint and quart jars, to use for it. It's simple, it's easy, it doesn't take any time. You just want to be careful for any mold and any residue buildup on there. So that's just the main concern. Now, people who have issues with histamine, or they have SIRS, or sometimes even when you have SIBO, you might want to be hold off or be careful with that, because fermented vegetables can aggravate those conditions. But it is a great way to heal the gut and live a healthy lifestyle. So when you're fermenting it, what you're doing is you're growing the bacteria that you would find in probiotic food, and you're doing that in a safe and easy way. So that's what I'm going to show you in this episode, and I'll give you some real life examples so that you can easily do this at home yourself. I'll also try to link some articles and recipes for you to review, so that you can get further suggestions as to how you can ferment vegetables at home. It's easy to do, so why not? So in order to make fermented ginger carrots, you chop up organic baby carrots and ginger, and then I use a pickle jar, an old pickle jar here. First, I put in a tablespoon of Himalayan salt. So I put a tablespoon of Himalayan salt in there, and then I add my carrots and my ginger. And you want to get it so it's pretty much to the top. Then I add water till it covers all of the vegetables. This is Berkey water. You want to use some type of filtered water for that. And then in order for the carrots to breathe, you want to add a coffee filter to cover it. Okay, so that's what it looks like once it's all ready to go. I usually put mine right on the cupboard there. You want to keep your mixture in a cool, dark place for about 3 to 4 days. Sometimes you can have it set longer, but I tend to find that if you sit it too long, it gets kind of a white, funky residue, and it's kind of gross. And so I usually do it long enough where you start seeing, you can usually tell a bacterial growth by, you can see it bubbling up, and you can actually see it, and you don't want it to go too far, because then it could grow mold. So I'm going to put this in the cupboard for about 3 days and then check on it. You can put a label on top if you need to with a date to help you remember, and then write it down on your calendar to help you remember to check it and refrigerate it when it's ready. All right, when you make fermented beets, it's a similar process as when you do the carrots. This time I'm using beets that I picked from my garden and chopped up in chunks. And then I have a quart-sized mason jar that I'm going to put them in. So just like with the carrots, the first thing you need to do is add your salt component. So I'm going to put a tablespoon of salt in there. Now I'm going to add my beets just like I did with the carrots. Okay, that looks like that's about good there. All right. You want to leave a little space on the top to breathe, and then you add your Berkey or filtered water. Bring it about to the top. Use a coffee filter again. so that gives it room to breathe. And this time, instead of using a rubber band, I'm going to use a screw on a mason jar lid that you'd use for canning. And so that's what it looks like. It's all ready to go. And again, it'll sit for 3 to 5 days in the cupboard or in a cool, dark place. And again, you can label it if you need to keep track. You want to try to avoid getting too much white residue on there, but you want to see it bubbling up and seeing moving around spots so that you know that it's you get a live culture in there. With the beet, some people actually do this, ferment beets just for the liquid, and they make what's a drink called beet kvass, K-V-A-S. Sometimes I will put the liquid in my soup, but I don't tend to drink it. But I do like to eat the beets, and they have a really nice flavor. So I'm going to put this away in the cupboard next to my carrots and let it sit for a few days to ferment. Okay, so it's been a few days, and I'm going to check on our carrots and our beets to see how they did. So I'm just going to take the lid off. Now, if you look in there, what you see there is some bubbling. And that is from the lacto fermenting process of the Himalayan salt. It's causing it to bubble up. Some people like to keep the the vegetables out longer than a few days, but I tend to err on the caution side. I used to try to do it up to a week, and it would get this kind of gross white stuff on top, and it kind of scared me. So I usually just get so it's just bubbling a little bit like this. The stuff floating on top, that is ginger, so no worry about that. So that actually looks pretty good. So we got carrots and ginger there, and then you just eat it. I like to take the carrots out and maybe a little bit of the ginger and put some olive oil and salt it slightly. And I usually put it with a salad. Okay, so with the beets, let's look at this. And the same thing, when you look at it, all that white bubbly stuff, that is the fermentation process starting. And so I just like it to start slightly. I'm going to take my filter and just wipe out the top here. There's a little bit of residue from the beet. You want to make sure that there's no mold growing. But again, I don't like it when it gets white, when there gets to be like a white stuff. And some people say, well, when the white, it's like a white crusty residue that kind of happens if you let it ferment too long. And some people say, well, just scoop it up because you don't want to eat it. But to me, I just think it's over ferments when it does that. So I just like it when it gets that just nice bubbly color there, and that I know that's just fermented just enough that it should be safe to refrigerate it. So now I'm going to refrigerate these, and these 2 jars, I'll put lids on them. The 2 jars should last in the refrigerator a good 2 or 3 months, and it is just a delicious treat. I grabbed a fork here, so this is what the beet looks like. It's just nice, looks like a nice canned beet, and it's got a little bit of a fermenting taste, so it has a little bit of a different taste you have to get used to, but I like it. Same with the carrot. It just looks like that. So, it's crispy. It's got kind of a unique flavor. The ginger kind of adds to the flavor. When you eat it, I like especially the carrot. If you're not used to kind of that tangy fermented flavor, you might want to just mix it with a little bit of yogurt or something else, and it helps eat it, but I like it. I can say when I first started eating fermenting vegetables, my body didn't like it at first. It's acquired. It's not only is it acquired taste, it's just an acquired process. The first time I tried it, I had some vertigo and kind of an anxious feeling. It just, my brain kind of messed with me a little bit. But over time, after my body adjusted to it and my intestines adjusted to the bacteria and stuff that's in it, I haven't had any trouble in it. So it's just fun to do and tasty. So